Thousands of white South Africans are returning to South Africa after learning that life in America is way worse. Yeah, no shit, we tried to tell you. So there are a couple things here. First, just there is no white genocide in South Africa. You're not persecuted for your race. Yes, I'm from the United States, therefore I did not fall into the bucket of people who are being persecuted, which are Afrikaner farmers, but there is way more white privilege here than even in the United States, I would say. But secondly, what you're seeing is that even white foreigners are finding that they're facing violence and potential discrimination in the United States, which is also what we said would happen. People who are focusing on the violence as only a problem that affected Black and brown people are now realizing that no, it affects you too. Eventually, what affects the minority will also affect the majority. And I'm talking about majority in terms of finances and power. It's interesting because some of these people who are returning to South Africa, they mentioned that they left South Africa because of the crime, but now they're leaving the US because of the crime. Because crime in the US has actually been going down overall in terms of people on people crime, but what is increasing is crime committed by the government. Who is responsible for the majority of the detentions, disappearings, the now killings? Our government, not the people. There are so many points that I could make with this video, but I'm getting a little bit stuck. So one is that I spend a lot of time this side educating people about what's happening in the United States, mainly so as to decenter the US from their narrative of success and aspiration. And I think a lot has changed over the last 2 years so that more people realize what's happening in the United States and the fact that they should not be putting it on a pedestal, but there's still a lot that needs to be exposed. The next thing is that it is really important, especially this day and age, as we hopefully move towards a global revolution, to realize that you have to focus on what's happening to the people at the bottom and realize that what happens to them will happen to you. You need to fight for everyone.
Hey, so do you guys remember several months ago when there were a bunch of white South Afrikaners who were claiming that they were being persecuted because of their, and they asked the president to help them. And he said, yes, we're going to help you because there is a G-side happening and you are being oppressed. So he brought about 3,500 of them over to the United States since May of 2025. Well, since then, several hundred have already left the United States. And of those left, 70% of them are actively working with the South African government to go back home. Now, why are they all fleeing the United States? Well, several reasons. One thing, they said it's not safe here. They said Americans are being shot in their face. They are scared for their life living here in the United States. They also said it is far too expensive. Mind you, these individuals were getting assistance from the government. And they said it was still too expensive for them to live. Health insurance? Hell no. Way too much. And not that good. I'm guessing those individuals really weren't oppressed back in South Africa if they are actively fleeing the United States, saying it is too safe and far too expensive. Several said they were sold a false narrative, that they were lied to get people to come over into the United States.
Okay, huge shout out to my friend Tabitha. I fucking love her. I don't know if I can tag her. I think she has all that stuff off because it drives you crazy when you get so many tags. And she did a story this morning about the Afrikaners who Trump brought over here because of the Christian persecution in Africa. And they were coming here because it was going to be a better life for them. So this is from Reuters. Trump says white South Africans are persecuted. Some are returning to a better life. Andrew whatever left South Africa after being held at gunpoint in his car. He now feels that the greater threat's the United States. He said, citing mass shootings in public places, as well as violence by U.S. immigration officers. People are being shot in broad daylight. American citizens are being shot and killed, said the 53-year-old who moved to California in 2003. I don't want to live in a place like this. Then there's this lady. She had been settled in the United States for 2 decades when she came back for a holiday and realized how much she missed home. Last year, she left North Carolina for a seaside town in South Africa's Western Cape when she said her 3 children spend more time outdoors, health insurance is affordable, and she prefers the schools. My heart is full of gratitude to be here, the 46-year-old said from her home. The U.S. has been really good to me, but it just felt like I was depriving my kids of this life. But the big story here, my friends, is that the reports show that attacks on Christians is not real, but there's a willingness to tackle the issue. Christians are being spat on, they're being attacked. It's actually really bad to be a Christian in Israel. The incidents were able to track barely scratch the surface of what happens. We do not doubt that there are many more cases that we do not know of. And now I know that hell is frozen over, but here's Joe Rogan and John Kiriakou.
We're not talking about the West Bank, right? Where just 2 weeks ago, a Christian village ceased to exist because settlers from New Jersey took all their houses. You know, what happens next?
South Africa, they get refugee status.
White South Africans that were pretty much the only people Donald Trump has let into the country since his administration took over are returning home. They came to the United States because they said they were being persecuted in their home country. And now they're going back because they say nobody is meant to live the way you have to live in the United States. It's too expensive and it's too violent. They say, look, we're leaving the U.S. to return home because I don't want to live in a place like this. That article goes on to claim that they didn't want to live in places where people are getting shot in broad daylight and where things cost 10 times more than they should. See, for the people in the U.S., these things are normal, but for the rest of the world, it's not. We are not a safe country. We are not the greatest country in the world, and we're not a country that actually takes care of its citizens. So these white South Africans that came here because they were persecuted, that Donald Trump welcomed to fanfare, are now going home because things were better there than they are in the United States.